gang is here. 1 million signatures in the bag, and the Building Bridges team on the last leg. Is there a third way? Plus, more division but no revenue just yet. A parallel bill at the Senate, an angry National Assembly, and who knows what next. Also on the show tonight, the Tower of Babel that the President and his deputy built. And boy, it is only 2019. We'll also have the kicker, the take, the punchline, and the angle. The brief memo tonight is that Jamila Mohammed is still away on a break. But her seat, as you can see, is not empty. Our guest gangster tonight, as Yvonne mentioned, Wanjiro Gikonyo from the Institute of Social Accountability, or TISA. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yeah, Jamila usually doesn't say very few things. She has a lot of statistics. Let's see how you do tonight. All right, so 1.2 million signatures in the bag. Linus Punguza Mizigo. That may have looked difficult, but some would say it was actually the easy part.
I think this is a landmark moment for the Third Way Alliance that has been pushing for Punguza Mizigo Bill 2019, because this is a very important step that we can describe as the first step towards the referendum that will eventually, if it happens, lead to either changing or retaining the current constitution. So it's a very big night for Punguza Mizigo and its advocates. This is a big move. Remember very well that not all collections of signatures go well. Not long ago, there was a time that, was it the CORD group,
Okoa Kenya,
and Okoa Kenya tried to put together a referendum call and put together signatures, and it fell short.
They ended up with cow prints, footprints.
They ended up with a lot of things that Punguza Mizigo is happy not to have tonight. So it's a very, very big night for Ekuru Court, for Third Way Alliance, and I think a big team of people that are behind this Punguza Mizigo initiative.
Yeah, and Francis, where one would say this is a big step, but a referendum is nowhere near the corner yet.
The hard part has begun, and in 3 months, 90 days if you like, this Punguza Mizigo bill will be going to the county assemblies, the 47 of them. Now the challenge is convincing at least 24 out of these 47 county assemblies to say yes to the proposals by Ekuru Court and the Third Way Alliance. It will be very dramatic. It will also be very political. But what I find interesting in the Punguza Mizigo referendum push is that members of the county assemblies are at the heart of the proposals that have been made by Dr. Ekuru Court and his team. So you may call it a sweetener.
Yes, yeah,
that,
something that must have been deliberate, right?
Obviously, because the first stage in having a referendum is bringing on board the members of the county assembly. Now, whether the MCAs will look at these proposals independently, or there will be other forces that will tell them wachana na hiyo, or they will tell them support hii, is a question that we'll be able to see through. But what I also found interesting this evening, there was some drama, if you may like it. We were told it was a shooting incident at the Third Way Alliance headquarters. I've seen a lot of discussion around it. Some are saying ni vipindre, others are saying it's a very serious concern, like drama stands.
What?
Vipindre. And there are also people who are saying this is a very serious issue that needs to be looked into. Of course, questions being asked on whether was there an attack, who could have orchestrated the attack, and what was the intention if actually there was an attack. And if it was to scuttle the referendum push, why not before when the signatures were being collected? So
this would be a good point. This would be a good point to say what the police always say. We urge Kenyans to avoid speculation.
So let's wait and see what the investigators will tell us about it.
Yeah. Yvonne, an interesting one, thinking about the fact that CORD was such a big political machine, and Dr. Aukot, I don't think he got 1/10 of those signatures as votes in the last election. So quite interesting.
I mean, it is, and that's where you hear a lot of people coming in with the politics that perhaps CORD at the time had better mobilization skills, wasn't able to get the 1 million signatures, and here we go with them. I mean, you know, and that is is speculation again, and is something to be seen as we go forward. But this is the interesting thing also in terms of the time that the IEBC has taken to verify the signatures. I mean, when was this presented? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
About a month ago.
It's about a month ago now, yes, since we started discussing it. But, you know, again now, it moves to the next step, which is the county assemblies. And is there enough in this to incentivize the county assemblies towards pushing this further to the next stage? I think that's where we all do. And a lot of people have said he's sweetened them a little bit.
And that's a good question to put to Wanjiru, who has been following a lot of the things that happen in the counties. Right. And looking at the Punguza Mizigo bill, I don't know whether it's Mizigo.
It's Mizigo.
But there's something to
It's Mizigo.
Yeah, what's your sense of what is in this bill that Aikuru Court has been pushing with regards to the counties, and whether the county assemblies might be tempted to think twice before rejecting it?
Yeah. Well, looking at Third Way Alliance, first of all, it's a great feat. They need to profile themselves. He suffered a little bit around the elections. There was
Did you say a little bit?
A few stumbles here and there. No, it's a new party. Given what we have in terms of political options, let's not be too harsh on Ekuru. And given his illustrious background, he managed the referendum process. Don't forget, I mean, he managed a process that was locked. He was, and it's not a surprise that he's managed to get these votes in, because he's obviously a very good manager. He had a very complex process. He managed to deliver a constitution despite a lot of naysayers. You know, it looked like an impossible feat. He stumbled at the election. He now comes back with this bill, which now, from what he says, is a popular bill. They've been having conversations, obviously, in various parts of the country. So first of all, he's profiling himself. He's also putting the Third Way Alliance as a citizens' party. And then fronting issues. And if you look at these issues, you can hear the voice of the public, because these are the things that really incense people. And, you know, when they say you want to cut the president's salary to 500,000 shillings, and members, you can really hear citizens saying, this money is being wasted. Right. Can you bring it down? So first of all, the fact that he has the 1.2 million and he has this bill and is now going to go back to the counties is a fantastic platform. I think it's important because under the Constitution, in terms of sovereignty, in terms of using the Constitution, he's doing that. He's telling Kenyans, he's telling ordinary people who aren't career politicians, this Constitution gives us space, and you can do a lot of things. Whether he'll succeed or not is, like you say, the next hurdle. But he's accomplished one thing. One, he's profiling himself. He's going to have conversations. Now, he can make those conversations quite visible. And he then makes Third Way Alliance a significant actor, whether it's in terms of pulling in numbers, maybe he has a longer term strategy, but he's definitely coming on as a player, a sober, sensible player, listening to citizens, putting their voices out there, which is what Kenyans need in terms of political parties.
But Linus, I see you raising your pen, but I was going to ask actually something, because just picking off of what Wanjiru is saying, do you believe that he's going to be left to play alone in this field with all the limelight that this is likely to attract?
First of all, he's taken a very safe approach because he's almost coming in a capsule. He's not exposed. When you look at how the approach it has taken, I'm reminded of Professor Kivutha Kibwana in the days of the NCEC. It's very difficult to see Ekuru Aukot as a political player. You see him more as a civil society person. And look at the tidiness of the process he has carried out. It's neat. There's a lot of backroom work that has gone into this. And then you can see the communication.
Not too much drama, actually.
Not too much drama. You've not seen him in political rallies. He has not addressed any political rally yet. He's done all this behind closed doors, put together a very well-written document. And I just want to go to what I think is his biggest selling point, and I agree with Wanjiru, that the question of the cost of running government is a very pertinent one, and it's one that resonates with wananchi. And this got very controversial and I would say dramatic proposals, because cutting this parliament from 416 to only 147 will be quite a feat. Remember that in 1963, when the country got independence, we had more than that in terms of seats. We had 120 parliamentary, or rather National Assembly, or it was called those days House of Representatives. We had 120 seats and only 38 for Senate, a total of 158 seats. Ekuru's proposal seeks to make Parliament even smaller than the Independence Parliament. So this is quite a big proposal. He talks of over-representation by 400%. I think a lot of sober people will agree with him. This Parliament, 416, is only about 100 less than India, which is a billion people, nearly a billion people in terms of population.
Francis, yes.
I'm looking at it this way. The amount of resistance that Ekuru Aukot and his team are likely to face, especially from members of parliament. Let me read an SMS from a member of parliament whose name I will not mention for obvious reasons.
They are not so obvious, but
it's a she. She's saying, this exercise is still suspect. Who funded it? Where is his secretariat, clerks and managers? Is it locally funded or by foreigners? Who is using him? Somebody is definitely behind him. Now, those are the kind of sentiments that you see immediately, because, look, you're saying reduce the number of parliamentarians from 416 to 147.
At this stage, what is there to fund?
Hold on. Even the collection of signatures, even the collection of signatures is a process that is that requires some finances.
Going around the country and getting 1 million people,
it's not
to
easy.
Genuinely sign up. Yeah.
Number one, 416 lawmakers, and you're saying reduce it to 147. So there's a whole chunk of about 250 plus members of parliament who you will render jobless. So some of the arguments that you're going to see will be very inward looking.
Actually, someone said that when they were asking the BBI team what some of the key things they've been told, they were saying, many people are saying, we need to reduce the
that was Paul Mwangi.
But not ours. It is fine, you reduce everything else you can reduce. But not this one. And that was like almost
and I'm not surprised that it would be a member of National Assembly who would say that, because this directly affects them. And remember also in his bill, he's sort of moving the focus to the county assemblies and to those as the basic units.
But you see, but in terms of the process, the National Assembly and the Senate are really almost irrelevant in the sense
process,
that they can say what they want. Maybe they might mobilize the sentiment against this whole thing, but in terms of the actual vote, because it is the county assemblies, once they 24 or more pass it, then it will go to the houses of parliament, and whether they pass it or not,
it goes to
it will go to the referendum. But Wanjiru, interesting that in one fell swoop, he also attempts to solve the 2/3 gender thing, because he says we will elect
one man, one woman.
We elect two people from each county to the National Assembly, one man, one woman, and that will give you at least
50%. At least,
of the National Assembly. It's very close to what you're talking about. It's more than a third. If you think about the fact that some senators may actually end up being women anyways.
And I think, Joe, you hit it. That's actually a magic aspect, because if he gets the women's lobby to support this, then he's got a significant support. You realize the gender issue is one issue that the political parties, the big political parties, have completely betrayed. And there have been numerous attempts, in fact, even to dissolve parliament around the gender issue. So if the gender lobby, locks onto this, the gender lobby is pretty well organized at the grassroots. It doesn't normally translate possibly through the competitive electoral process, and that's because of the nature of politics we have. But have no doubt, if the gender lobby decides they are going to come on board, they could do some serious mobilization at the county level. And something that Linus said about not seeing political rallies, I think campaigning has changed very much. The era of big political parties translating into votes is fading away, maybe for the top seat at the presidential level. But when we were looking at elections in Nairobi County, we realized there's also a lot of door-to-door campaigning going on. As the restrictions come in around spending around campaigns, as there was relatively stronger monitoring by the IEBC on how people campaign. Of course, there was still mischief happening. But you then got a sense that politicians are being constrained and being forced then to be a little bit more accountable in how they campaign. So 1,200 signatures means possibly there was direct contact with constituencies in very many parts, and the ability to then get these signatures means there are many other people who are spoken to at a very proximate level. So the level of education that has gone around for people to give these views and then sign the signature is also significant. So for me, I look at it that one way or the other, the Third Way Alliance is shifting the game, is bringing proper politics. This is issue-based politics that we've been looking for. It's not very exciting. It's not that word you are giving us, but it's delivering results. Now, whether it goes through the assemblies or not, I think he'll need a very good strategy.
Yeah, and I think regardless of that, I mean, as the man who was in the committee of experts, he understands the Constitution enough to use the very same Constitution and follow the procedure towards reforming it. And I think that is something, that is interesting, as opposed to what we're seeing with, other factions within the political sector who are whipping up, emotions and before. And to be fair, yes, this is fairly boring.
Wouldn't there be a time when he needs then now to engage with the real politics? Because it is all good to have this on paper. But if there are guys who are going to go out there and speak to all those MCAs and tell them different things, and if they happen to be the big political players, so at a certain point,
and that was going to be my point. He started off well, and now we're sort of discussing with the issues. But a referendum is a political issue. A referendum is, in fact, by the very nature, it is a divisive issue because you are forcing people to pick one or the other. It is yes or no. It's not usually a consensus building kind of process. You are clearly asking people to choose between one and the other, and it will be interesting to see whether he can now take it further to the next level. So now it's all the academics, which is great. So now we start to debate this, but he will need the political side to see if he can mobilize the people towards going to the ballot, should we get to that point, and start to actually vote, because it is a political process
what will
as
that
a referendum.
Yeah, Joe, before he gets there, before he starts mobilizing, and I agree totally with Yvonne, the political process is about to then kick in. All referendums, including the 2010 one that is the most recent we had, are decided by single issues, not really many issues. Nobody went and voted for this document in whole. Very shortly, he has to narrow down to the contentious issues and make his selling point. Remember, this is a market is about to shortly compete with the BBI, because we know that the Building Bridges Initiative is supposedly working on something that could be similar or different from this. So we're yet to see that document. So this debate is going to come down to specifics, and I put them into three categories. Category one is on the issue of the presidential system. Now, he's proposing a 7-year single term. We don't know what BBI will come up with, and then
the leaked document which they disowned curiously had 7 years.
Had 7 years, yes.
And then, of course, the public will have this discussion. And I think we mentioned it here last week that it's going to be quite contentious. What do you want, 7 years or 5 years? Or free and fair elections that can allow people to quickly and frequently replace politicians as they will? And the other issue, the second issue apart from the presidential one, will be the parliamentary one. And Francis, I totally agree that it's going to be very, very contentious. Remember how our constituencies are currently constituted include ethnic balancing.
Absolutely.
Where you find that some communities feel the only way they are represented is to have their seats.
Yeah.
And the final part.
And if you were to tell Narok to pick just one person to represent the whole county,
that'll be interesting.
And it's not just Narok. I mean, it is more than half of the counties in Kenya, if not more.
And then the last area will be on the issue of the regional governments. Is it the 14 regions, and what happens to the counties?
Yeah.
Because if you are selling the 14 regions, then you really need to work hard to get the 24 counties that you need to pass this bill.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting conversation going on here. But we are going to take a short break on News Gang. We'll be right back with that division over revenue that we have been seeing in the Houses of Parliament and just what is going on with Jubilee. Don't go away.